Well, good news, New Orleans. You'll now be able to see the Hawks on Sunday. See what I did there? Yeah, let's just get on with it. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jarrett9, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about a TV move that is going to be made for this Sunday, the first of what could be many switches on the TV map for the Week 18 games. For those who missed the video I put out yesterday, I did a video about all the markets that are showing all the games in Week 18 of the NFL season, and what I like, what I don't like. There's some markets that make no sense whatsoever. Go check that video out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link in the upper right corner and the description. And if you really like that content, 506sports.com, a phenomenal resource. I've used that site for years to figure out what games are being shown in my area and what games are being shown across the country. Go check that out. They're the one that makes all these maps. They're amazing. With that being said, we have our first switch from what happened on Wednesday to Thursday. New Orleans is now going to be showing, instead of the Cowboys-Commanders game, they're going to be showing this team behind me right here. They're going to be showing the Seattle Seahawks take on the Arizona Cardinals at 4:25 on Fox. So now if you're in New Orleans, you'll be able to watch that game. The rest of Louisiana is going to still get Cowboys-Commanders, since the Cowboys are a pretty prominent team in Louisiana, especially the parts like Shreveport, Western Louisiana, Northern Louisiana. But if you're in New Orleans, you're now getting Seahawks-Cardinals. On one hand, this move makes a lot of sense. If you look at the playoff scenarios, if the Saints win their game, you have to assume the Buccaneers are going to beat the Panthers. Again, any given Sunday, the Panthers have won 2 games. They stun the Texans, stun the Falcons. But you have to assume that the Buccaneers will beat the Panthers, the worst team in football right now, a team with absolutely nothing to play for. If that happens and the Saints beat the Falcons, the Saints' playoff hopes are dependent on what happens in the Seahawks-Cardinals game. There's a lot of things that have to happen for the Saints to make the playoffs. They've kind of put themselves in a bit of a pickle. But if you look at what has to happen for the Saints to make the playoffs, what they need, if they don't qualify via a division win, they need to win their game, obviously, plus they need the Seahawks to lose, plus they need the Packers to lose. There's also a scenario where if the Saints tie, the Seahawks and Packers losing would help them out there, but obviously a tie would be very, very unlikely. Bottom line, if the Saints win but don't get the division, they need help from Seattle badly. And it makes sense that CBS is showing Packers-Bears in New Orleans. That game has massive implications for the Saints, so why not show the Fox game as well, so Saints fans can flip back and forth between the two networks to see what their playoff hopes are looking like. Now, on the other hand, this is an extremely high-risk play. It'll be very interesting to see what the ratings are, because on one hand, again, this game has massive implications for the Saints. On the other hand, this game could very well mean absolutely nothing. If the Saints win the NFC South by beating the Falcons and the Buccaneers losing to the Panthers, or the Saints lose their game against the Falcons, thereby mathematically eliminating them from the playoffs, the Seahawks game means absolutely nothing. It has no implications whatsoever for New Orleans. It has no implication for the Saints season. And that means you're taking a massive ratings hit compared to what the Cowboys would bring in, since the Cowboys are a brand that is big across the country and is big in most parts of Louisiana. Obviously not as big as the Saints, but they're still a very big brand, and they will get higher ratings across the country than a game like Seahawks-Cardinals will. You can't flex that out. Once the game is locked in for Sunday, it is locked in. The only way you can flex it out is if it gets to 3 possessions and they can switch to a more competitive game. But other than that, New Orleans is going to be getting Seahawks-Cardinals no matter what happens in the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. So if the Saints win their game and they don't win the division, Seahawks-Cardinals, yeah, people are going to watch that one. If the Saints lose their game or they win the division, yeah, the ratings, Fox is going to take an absolute beating compared to what CBS will take. They might be saying, well, isn't that the same thing with the Green Bay situation that I talked about in yesterday's video? Not in the slightest bit, because those games are taking place at the same time. For the Packers game taking place at 4:25 on CBS in Green Bay, I said that it makes no sense whatsoever why the Fox affiliate is not showing the game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, because if the Packers are losing, their playoff implications rest heavily on whatever the Seahawks are doing over there. Having said that, though, with New Orleans, their game takes place at 1 o'clock, so we'll know by 4:25 whether this game has meaning or not. With Green Bay and Seattle, though, those games are taking place at the exact same time. So it's an apples and oranges situation. There's a very decent chance that this Seahawks game might not mean anything, and New Orleans, the Fox affiliate, is going to be stuck with a rating stinker. but we will see. Again, everything is very fluid, and I'm assuming New Orleans will not be the last market to change their game assignment for Week 18, especially considering the fact that Joe Flacco is not going to be starting. So Baltimore, Southern Delaware, you might not have the Browns-Bengals game anymore just because Joe Flacco is announced as not the starter. It's going to be Jeff Driscoll. So we'll see. A lot of changes could happen in Week 18, but I just thought I'd do a video on the very first change that has been announced. New Orleans, you are now getting the Seahawks-Cardinals game. You are no longer getting Cowboys-Commanders like most of the country is. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below if you think that this is the right move. Let me know your thoughts on the Week 18 TV maps and the Week 18 schedule. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps the channel out a lot. And go to my main channel, Jaguar 9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time on there. Until next time, Jaguar 9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.